Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
April 11th, 2018.
And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
I have therefore chosen this time and place to discuss a topic on which ignorance too often abounds and the truth too rarely perceived, and that is the most important topic on earth: peace. Not merely peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
For our side.
I got stirred once again. And I got to tell you, I'd give anything to hear a speech that stirs me again. I haven't heard one in a very long time. Joining us again is Pat Buchanan, who worked in the Nixon White House and in the Reagan White House, for those of you who are fake conservatives, who wrap your arms around Ronald Reagan, but when a real Reaganite appears, what are you going to do, call Pat a communist now because he's against the war? Pat, line 10, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Michael. Was that JFK at American University in June of 1963?
You would know because you were probably in the audience. I don't know. But you were probably there, were you?
I wrote a long piece for the newspaper critical of that speech after I had analyzed it. But
I'll leave it to you. Now, Pat, let me ask you something. I know you worked with Nixon. You said you were his who were you communications director for? Which president?
Communications director for Reagan from 85 to 87. I was with him at Reykjavik and at Geneva in the summits with Gorbachev. And Ronald Reagan, contrary to the way people held him up to be, was someone who wanted to get rid of all nuclear weapons, who didn't want war. And when I went to work for him, let me tell you a story in 1985. And we were talking. He said, that about the Russians. He said, Pat, I've been trying to get to talk to him. He was in his second term, but they keep dying on me. Brezhnev had died on him, Andropov had died on him, Chernenko had died on him. And as soon as Gorbachev showed up, Reagan was wide open to discussing and communicating with him. And Reagan had an abhorrence of nuclear weapons and all the horrible damage they could visit upon man.
Pat, I don't mean to cut you off. You've been there, you've done that, you've been in the corridors of power, you've advised presidents in a major league way. What would Ronald Reagan do today after this gas attack?
I think Reagan would not have threatened war the way Trump has. For one, the reason. Reagan, when he left office, a friend told me, I wasn't with him the final day of office, when he went into the Oval Office, and there were a couple fellas there, and he said, the worst mistake I made in my presidency was putting those Marines into Lebanon. And then he saluted, and he walked out. He only used force a couple of times. One of them, I was working on a speech for when we attacked Libya in response to their attack on a discotheque in Berlin. And the other was Grenada, which he liberated from the communists. But those are the only three uses of force by a man who was considered a great hawk, but who really didn't want to confront the Russians, who wanted to deal with the Russians. But let me, Michael, I think what we need now is not simply, I would like to see the president reflect on where we're going with an attack on Syria, but for the Congress of the United States, if you will, leaders like Corker, Schumer, McConnell, and the Speaker of the House to stand up and say, Mr. President, we understand your horror at what's going on in Syria, what we believe went on, but you have no authority to take us to war or to attack Russian bases there or even to attack Syria unless we authorize it or unless we're attacked.
Wait, you would like to see leaders in in Congress do that right now, is what you're saying. Is that correct?
Right now, and then they could say, look, Mr. President, we understand, we share your rage and anger at the film of babies look like they've been gassed, but we're not sure exactly what's been done. Our British allies aren't quite sure. Let's get those inspectors in there and get proof. But we have to tell you that you cannot launch a unilateral war against Syria if it has not attacked you, or we have not authorized such a war. And then I think what you want to do, I think, is buy some time.
You know, at the end of the last hour, Pat Buchanan said to me that when I asked him what should Trump do right now, that he's brought us to 1 minute to midnight here, maybe 1 second to midnight, you said that he should be a big enough man to back off and reconsider. More or less, that's what you said, correct?
Yep.
You know what I thought during the break? He's not going to back down. He's going to double down. Watching his activities over the last year and a half, I suspect the opposite is going to happen. Pat, what do you actually think he will do?
I'm basically of the same mindset as you, but he's got to have people around him that are telling him don't do anything right now.
Okay, but who would that be? Bolton came in wearing the Viking helmet with two big horns, wanting to gore the world. Who is the leavening agent around Trump? Who would actually say, slow down, we don't know? Who is it in there who might say that?
Well, I think I don't know General Mattis, but it seems these fellows have seen a lot of war, and so has General Kelly. And Pompeo is a hardliner, but he's an intelligent man, number one at West Point. And so these guys, you got to look down that gun barrel. And, I remember Nixon telling me that, and I predicted there was going to be a war in '67, and he said no. He thought when they looked down the gun barrel, the Israelis and the Egyptians back there at the time of the 6 Day War, he didn't think there would be a war. But I'm inclined to agree with you. I think Trump is so wrought up, and he feels a legitimate sense of injustice at what's being done to him. He didn't do any colluding with Putin to get into the DNC or Hillary's emails. And I think he feels that this stuff is illegitimate, that they're trying to steal a presidency that he won fair and square, and then they're going after this Stormy Daniels nonsense, going after his lawyer. But the thing is, those aren't impeachable acts, but an undeclared war against an enemy that has not attacked you, which involves us in a broader and wider war with a superpower, that's crossing the line.
You know, Pat, as you speak with me and America and the world for that matter on the Savage Nation, I get a sense of reason again. I feel as though I'm living in a world of no reason. It seems that it's a government like a cyclops without reasoning power. It lurches. 1 week we're getting out of Syria, the next week we're bombing Syria. I never saw anything like this. We need stability. Where is this thought supposed to come from? I ask for it. I am just a talk show host with some influence. I must say, I did write Trump's War, but people say, well, you're a warmonger. Those who haven't read the book, but the chapter in Trump's War is actually entitled, it's the opposite. It's Trump's War against the war machine, Pat. People don't even know that. One of the chapters is Trump's War against the war machine, a man of peace. And so people can easily misinterpret me. They could easily misinterpret you. They could say you're an old war hawk, but you're the opposite of that. And now we actually have a man who ran on a peace platform looking to be going in the opposite direction, Pat. I am hoping to God that I can stir the pond with this show, as I have done in the past, and having you on is a very important part of it, and stir thought in the base of Donald Trump, who will flood the White House with emails saying, don't attack Syria. That's what I'm hoping for, Pat.
I think, and it's not an illegitimate hope. There was a time when Barack Obama and Kerry they had their line in the sand, and the American people rose up and said, we don't want to get involved in another Middle East war. And it was almost so unanimous that Obama went to the Congress, and the Republican Congress, wouldn't support him. This is exactly what needs to be done. And look, there's not a single, except for that moving troops into Lebanon, not a single American military action during the Cold War did I oppose of presence of either party. But once our war, the Cold War, is over, What in heaven's name? We can't sort out the Middle East. I mean, I don't know how are you going to win a war when your opposition not only includes the Syrians, their army, the Iranians, Hezbollah, the Russians, and the Turks, and the only allies we got in there right now are the Kurds. Are we going to get up an army and send them into Syria if this thing turns bad, which it could, if you start throwing rockets into Syria and killing Russian troops?
You know, I go on the websites that I normally go on, and you want to hear something strange, Pat? Breitbart, not one article against war. All these sites that I go on every day, all of a sudden they're dead silent on the Syria situation, Pat. What's happened to the so-called right wing in this country? Have they lost their minds?
Well, I mean, you're right. I don't know how to explain the silence. I mean, look, the Congress of the United States, that's right there in the Constitution. It's number one authority of the Congress, the legislative branch, is the decision to declare war or authorize war. It's not given for a reason to the commander-in-chief alone. He fights the war once the Congress authorizes. Has Congress authorized an American war on Syria, which hasn't attacked us and does not threaten us, a war which could draw in the Iranians and Hezbollah and draw the Russians? I mean, and I think Congress has got an obligation. They've got an obligation, I think, to stand up and say, I will give Tim Kaine. He said, Donald Trump is president. He's not a king. He can't take us to war against North Korea or Iran or Russia or Syria unless we authorize that war.
You know, the only website that is running anything about this madness right now is InfoWars with Alex Jones. End of the world, he writes. Trump planning to strike 70 targets in Syria, including Russian. Russia vows to retaliate. But the most alarming headline for me today was the Russian people have been warned what to bring into the bomb shelters with them. This is very serious stuff. And yet there's a huge blackout amongst right-wing news sites, Pat. It's as though I am living in an absolute propagandist dream. I'll be back in a minute, and here's what we're going to do when I come back. Pat can't stay with us all day. If you have a quick question for Pat Buchanan, who worked for Presidents Nixon and Reagan, who knows how government works, who worked for bona fide conservative presidents, the real McCoy, been there, done that. Questions, 855-407-282. Speak or forever hold your peace.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. April 11th, 2018.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam.
Oh, God, we have to go back to the 60s all over again? That was an anti-war movement? Where are all of the anti-war conservatives out there who voted for Donald Trump because he was not the battle axe Hillary who wanted a war with Russia, who was gunning for a war with Russia? And here's the strangest question of the day to the audience listening to this program. Where are all the Democrats who attack Trump on a daily basis now that he said he's going to bomb 70 sites in Syria? Where are they? You would think they'd say something. It's as though he's gone on to the other side and he's joined the war party, who is the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is the war party. And they're silent now on Trump's saber-rattling. It's past saber-rattling. Pat Buchanan, last words on the Savage Nation. It's all yours. Go ahead.
Well, I think that, look, back in 2003, we started a magazine to prevent George W. Bush from taking us into war, the American Conservative, and fought a long battle, and we lost. And that has proven to be a disaster for this country. You take a look at how the Chinese have used this century and how we have used it, and who's gotten ahead and who has fallen behind. And this step, if the president takes it, is risking dragging us into a war which will endure for the length of his presidency and will very likely cost him his presidency. And it will be an a war that has not been authorized by the Congress of the United States, that has not been thought through, that invites military actions against Russia, which during the entire Cold War, everybody in White Houses, Republican and Democrats, wanted to avoid a situation where Americans and Russians were killing each other.
That's amazing. And I think those words are very profound. Pat, I know you've got to go. It's later for you than it is for me, and I wish I could join you in that Chardonnay that I hear you got waiting for you.
Well, one of these days.
Well, I'm allegedly going to Washington for a French state affair at the end of the month, and I'd like to invite you for a Chardonnay at my expense.
Okay, I'd be delighted.
Okay, well, he's going to give you the details. I don't know if you're up as late as I am because I'm on California time. But I wish you and your sister a wonderful evening, whoever else you're with. And now I go back to regular. Pat, how do people follow you? It's on Buchanan.org?
There's a Buchanan.org. It's got the columns up there. Linda Mueller runs them the very night I put them out. Right. I'll have one tomorrow. I guess I'll be writing it tomorrow on this subject. But appreciate talking with you, Michael, because it's clarified a lot of things and caused you to think of some way that we can maybe maneuver our way out of what looks like it's ahead.
Okay, Pat Buchanan, thanks for being with us in the Savage Nation. As I began this show an hour and a half ago by playing John F. Kennedy's speech, Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I was a very young guy, a teacher. It stimulated me, it motivated me. He was an idealist. He made me want to do things for my country. He motivated me to do better in my life and make myself a better person. I ask all of you listening, what can you do today for world peace as opposed to working for world war?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
A week ago, Donald Trump said, and we all cheered, we're getting out of Syria, leave it to them. We all know that for 1,000 years, the Shia and the Sunni have been killing each other based upon their own mythology about who's supreme there in their religious beliefs. And we've been nailed in that area for so long. Young men have died, come back crippled for what? The country's bankrupt as a result of it. Yeah, let me remind you, the country is bankrupt, by the way. The economy is looking good on the outside, but it's like a rotting edifice. On the inside, it's rotten to the core. It's unsustainable. When you have this kind of debt, the country is unsustainable. But I'll save that for another show. The spending madness, which I opposed, and now the war madness, which I oppose. In Trump's War, His Battle for America, Chapter 7, Trump's War Against the War Machine, I wrote. I called him a man of peace. I saw Trump as an anti-war president. My solution to the problem was stand firm on peace with Russia, combat the war propaganda with the bully pulpit, destroy ISIS and then leave the Middle East, bring our troops home from unnecessary deployments. Tell me what is wrong with that thinking. Tell me why it's your business to get involved in Syria right now. Tell me, how did that happen? There's a caller from Las Vegas, KBET, named Moisha, I guess, line 6. Moisha, is that your name?
It is.
Tell me what you think. We should go to war?
Should Iran nuke us?
Wait, don't change the question. This is not a Talmudic discussion.
Oh,
first of all, are you an American, or are you an American citizen or a Mossad agent?
Should Iran nuke us? Is that what
I asked you a question? It's my show, Schmendrick, not yours. Are you a Mossad agent or are you an American citizen?
Agent. As much as I am. That's ridiculous. I'm asking you, shouldn't we take them out now? I'm asking you a serious
What do you mean, take them out now? Big shot, sitting there on your dirty couch. Take them out now. What does that mean? Do you know what you're talking about when you say take them out now? What do you want to bomb Tehran, you schmuck?
Coward. You're a coward, that's all.
Oh, so you're a hero now because you got a big mouth saying that our boys should die because you got a big mouth?
Nuking their nukes? Hitting them hard is our...
Hitting them hard. Bomb Tehran. Bomb Tehran. Hit him hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what a schmuck you sound like?
Genius.
You sound like the typical schmuck. Go back to abusing yourself in your mother's bathroom. Idiot. Bomb them now. Have you heard it? You're going to hear this all day long now. All the radio jockeys, bomb him now! Bomb Iran now! Kill him now! Kill him now! Bomb him now! That's what the country's devolved to. The moishes on couches. The moishes on couches around America. Bomb him now! Go get your sponge cake out of your beard, you moron, you. KLIF, Vance, line 3. You want to bomb them now?
Are you kidding? That guy just about put me in tears. There's your problem. Everybody's on board with let's go nuke them. You're so right, Michael. You and Pat Buchanan. I got so much I know can connect so many dots for you. I wish you had an email address. I'd send you stuff. But I want to know you and Pat understand how he lost the primary when he was running for president to Bush the Lesser. He was taken out so obviously. He was on a roll into Arizona, and they blew him away. And, oh, gosh, Mr. Buchanan, we're so sorry, those damn voting machines, you see.
Well, no, I don't want to go back to when Buchanan ran. I want to go back to Donald Trump, who a week ago was getting us out of Syria, and now all of a sudden he's gung-ho warmonger. How did that happen?
I think they baited Trump, and they're pushing him down a cattle chute. They've got his kids in crosshairs, all this other stuff is smoke and mirrors to take our eye off the ball. Otherwise, why do you have Democrats, the left, so silent, like you said, and the right?
Right. Where is Dianne Feinstein all of a sudden, who's Miss Democrat, not screaming from the top of her tower there saying, wait, stop, we don't want war with Russia. What, does she want war because her husband's a manufacturer of products? What the hell is going on here? Where are all the voices trying to stop this madness? Why am I the only one in the media speaking out about this? Have you heard anybody who declares themselves to be a conservative today saying, wait, stop, Mr. Trump, you're being misled? Who has said that other than me?
3 nights ago, he asked, why are all the Democrats and Republicans now supporting Trump? It's a good question.
I want you to watch Fox News. There's a character there who copies my every show. He gets probably a transcript, and it makes believe it's his words. And I salute him. He's much younger, and he doesn't have any inherent wisdom, so he listens to my show for wisdom, which is fine. I really don't care. I want to see if he has the guts to come out as anti-war tonight. I'm talking about Nip and Tuck. I want to see if Nip and Tuck has the guts to come out anti-war and copy me today as he does most every other day, in my estimation. Watch Fox News and see who's for the war and who's against the war. See if any of them stand up against the war tonight. I doubt that they will. Crosses and all. See what the crosses where they stand tonight. All the conservatives, all of a sudden the warmongers. How did that happen? Again, let me repeat. Something is wrong here. How have the conservatives turned on themselves? And do they understand that the people are not that stupid? Henry, on WFTW Radio, line 8. Go ahead, you have the floor in the Savage Nation.
Well, Dr. Savage, it's quite an honor. I've been trying to get to you. You're right. Tuck was questioned that same night that you were questioning about who did the bombing, and you were questioning the poisoning, and he was saying the same thing. But I'll tell you something, Fox News, they had Madeleine Albright. They had like Lieberstein or whatever, the senator from Connecticut. They have Blumenthal. They are false news or whatever.
All right, I don't want to just bash Fox News. It's irrelevant what they had. The question is, will they come out and ask the questions I am asking today? I have to go to the Bible, to Isaiah. Those of you who are not religious, please turn your radios off. I'm sure the wall banger will give you the sounds that you need of a nail gun. But Isaiah wrote the following: a sinful nation laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that deal corruptly, that have forsaken God, that have condemned the Holy One of Israel. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and festering sores, that have not been pressed, neither bound up, neither mollified with oil. Your land strangers devour it in your presence. What is going on in my nation? It is though a nation that has a serious illness in the head that's lost its mind. It lost its soul a long time ago. Now it's lost its mind. I have not changed my opinion one iota. I wrote Trump's war to stop war. I helped elect Donald Trump in order to make sure the warmonger, the battle axe, didn't win. And God shall judge between the nations and shall decide for many peoples. When is this going to happen? Read Isaiah when he says, they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. It's very easy for the cowards sitting on dirty couches around America or behind filthy microphones with their lunch in the granules of the microphone to sit there and scream, bomb Iran, bomb Syria, bomb North Korea, bomb China. It's very easy to say that. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Where are the conservatives now? Where have all the crosses gone? Are they all going to be screaming for blood tonight? You will find out today and tomorrow who is a conservative and who is a phony. Because I'm going to repeat for you something that you may have read or may not have read when you read Trump's War, The War Machine. Hundreds of years ago on page 139, I wrote, Thomas Hobbes said that the very first law of nature is to seek peace. That is the essence of true conservatism. It's peace, not war. Anyone can scream, go to war. Anyone can scream, drop a bomb. Anyone can say, yeah, 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 go, go, go. Bomb Russia. Get China while you're at it, too. Kill Kim Jong-un. Yeah. Sitting in my mother's living room. One of the reasons I worked so hard to get Trump elected is because I thought he would be a man of peace. And then all of a sudden I woke up and the sellout Republicans joined with the neocons turned out to be as bloodthirsty as the liberals for different reasons. While the liberals believe they can make the whole world equal through humanitarian war, the neocons have a much more traditional goal. They want to rule the entire world. Global hegemony not only fulfills their lust for power, it helps their crony capitalist friends on Wall Street and in corporate America. The first thing you must understand about the neoconservatives is they're not really conservative. The movement was founded by liberals who left the party because it became too anti-war over Vietnam. These people don't care about limited government or conservative values. They're all for big welfare programs like Medicare Part D, as long as they are free to wage constant war all over the planet. Page 145, Trump's War. So if you see the title, Trump's War, you say, oh, that's savage, he's a warmonger. No, he's a peacemonger. There's a different thing between a man who wants peace and a coward. Just as there's a difference between a man who wants war that is fought by the other woman's son. I couldn't believe what I saw this morning when I woke up. Trump's tweets, they made no sense to me. Actually, they were stunning and nauseating at the same time. They were shocking to read a thing like that. I never saw a president act like this. And I do know it's a reaction to Mueller. In that sense, they're all responsible. They pushed him into a corner on the attack on the Russia collusion, which came up with nothing. They're attacking his children and his family. And so he's backed into a corner and he's making a mistake here. It's a mistake he can never withdraw from if he actually moves in a war against Russia. He should not let Mueller push him into a place he cannot come back from. He should not let that happen. Something is wrong here. This is not World War II. Harry on WABC wants to make a point. I don't know if I have the time. Harry, you got to do it in 30 seconds or less. I'm giving you the shot. Go for it.
Declared war by Congress since before World War II. You know, Iraq and Grenada and Vietnam, all of those. None of those. Those were presidential actions. But lately, Michael, you're sounding like Neville Chamberlain show. I mean, come on.
Oh, you're another warmonger? You're another brave one on the couch?
Yeah, that's it, sure.
What do you mean, that's it, sure? What do you mean? What evidence do you have that Assad gassed his own people?
Listen, I'll tell you the truth.
No, you listen to me. You listen to me, you nobody.
Really not.
You're talking about people dying because of some crap that you read on an internet site. Show me the proof that Assad gassed his own people. We don't know where the proof is. Even the Prime Minister of England said she doesn't have the proof and she wants to see it. But you know more with your birds there tweeting in the background? What's the evidence? Give it to us right now.
That's a good point.
Thank you. I'm glad I woke you up and threw a pail of water in your face. I hope I woke up a lot of you out there. You're jumping the gun. You're rushing to judgment. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
You know, I talk about energy all day long, and I've told you 100 times, if you want to increase your own energy, it's simple. Call 800-481-0504 or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. And I've told you, with your first order, you get another 30-day supply for free, Super Beats. And then you think we're making it up, right? Well, you get indicator strips to see how Super Beats actually work in your body and free shipping. And I've told you to call 800-481-0504. I've told you to go to SavageLovesBeats.com today to give you all the energy you want all day long. Why? Because often many of us get into fatigue states for everyday activities, and it seems to get worse every year because when you're 20, your body has a natural ability to maintain healthy circulation. But by age 40, that ability decreases by half, and that leaves you feeling tired. I've told you can increase that youthful, natural circulation and fight fatigue by drinking Super Beats. And I've suggested, and I'm telling you again, all you got to do is try it. Call 800-481-0504 or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. That's it. That's the whole story. Now let's go back to the news of the day. Let me be very clear. I am opposed to what Donald Trump did in warning Russia. It seems he tweeted without thinking. Missiles will be coming into Syria. Why? Well, all of us are opposed to the use of chemical weapons. But how do we know who used the chemical weapons? Number one, even Theresa May of England said this morning, hold on, wait a minute, I don't have proof that Assad did this. Can you kindly stop foaming at the mouth, all of you warmonger couch generals, for 1 minute and think this through? Syria and Russia, with the help of the United States, have almost completely annihilated ISIS in Syria. They're down to a small pocket in one town or one city. Why in the world, after Trump says, I'm pulling out of Syria, getting the troops out, they're bringing them home, that's what I promised during the campaign, why all of a sudden would Assad be stupid enough to again bring the world against him by launching a gas attack against his own citizens? Would Russia do that? Are they that stupid? Do you think Putin, for all of his machinations, is dumb? Do you think he would authorize a thing like that and turn the whole world against him when he's almost got Syria completely pacified, almost back in the hands of Assad? The opposite would make sense. It would be those who do not want Russia in Syria. It would be those who want Assad deposed in Syria who would launch the gas attack. Now, who would those people be? That would be Al-Qaeda. That would be ISIS. That would be the neocons. That would be the deep state. That would be all the enemies that we elected Donald Trump to oppose. So now Trump has taken the enemy's message, hook, line, and sinker, and all of a sudden blurts, I'm going to bomb, I'm going to launch missiles, I got a ship there, I got new shiny missiles I'm going to launch. I've never seen anything like this. I have one job in life, and that's to speak the truth and to be a man of peace, not a man of war. If you're a man of war, good for you. Very easy to do that behind a microphone. Very hard to do that on a battlefield or in a street. Be very careful what you say. It may lead to the death of hundreds, if not thousands or more. You have a great responsibility, those of you in the media, to stop war, not make war. Forget your ratings, idiots. Think about blood.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
How many of those on radio or television calling for war against Russia have sons or daughters in the National Guard or in the military who will be deployed because Trump warned the Kremlin today not to retaliate against any U.S. strike on Syria because of an alleged deadly chemical attack orchestrated by the Assad regime? In a tweet this morning, President Trump referred to Syrian President Bashar Assad as a gas-killing animal, and then attacked Russia for being partners with the Middle East strongman. Trump went on without consulting Congress and blurted, Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. He then blurted, get ready, Russia, because they will be coming. Nice and new and smart. You shouldn't be partners with a gas-killing animal who kills his people and enjoys it. These are crazy remarks when you think about it from a president. I don't care what the reason is. I would have never seen a president act like this. He seems to be wanting war with Russia without any evidence that Assad actually did this. I backed Trump, supported Trump, support him on many issues, including the border issues, taxes, but I do not support him in wanting a wider war in the Middle East, especially when last week he didn't back it himself. Last weekend he said we're getting out of Syria. Now, there was a chemical attack, or wasn't there? Was it real? Was it a real attack or a fake attack? Do you have any proof that there was actually an attack? I've got people who are following this very closely who tell me that it was all staged by the so-called white helmets, who are, in fact, Hezbollah. Now, if I am getting reports like that, surely the president is also getting reports like that. I would think that with all the bright men around them, all the president's men and women who follow the news media could say, well, wait a minute. We're getting some reports, Mr. President, that say this may not even be a gas attack. It could be staged, or it's a false flag to get you to fire missiles. And he has to analyze all these things before acting, doesn't he? Is he doing this? We know that such an attack would be a violation of all the boundaries of human behavior and atrocious. And we would understand that at a certain time, at a certain time, military action might be required. Saturday's suspected poison gas attack was conducted in a rebel-held town near Damascus amid a resumed offensive by Syrian government forces after the truce collapsed. Syrian activists, meaning, who are Syrian activists? Who are Syrian activists? ISIS and such, said the attack in Douma killed at least 40 people. Is it true? Trump went on to say our relationship with Russia is worse now than it has ever been, and that includes the Cold War. Are you listening to this game of... listen to this. Our relationship with Russia is worse now than it has ever been, and that includes the Cold War. Can you believe that the president would say a thing like that? Why would he be escalating this right now? And by the way, we've heard about fake news. How do we know that this gas attack is not fake news? Especially since the usual suspects, John McCain and Lindsey Graham, two of the craziest men in the history of the Senate, men who have wanted war since the time they came out of the womb, men born for war, men born to promote the military-industrial complex, are suddenly backing Trump, men who fought him on every level. Men who do not want the wall, men who do not want Trump, anti-Trumpers, never-Trumpers, all of a sudden love Trump. Why? Can't you put two and two together? So I ask you, the American people, to speak out right now before it's too late. And don't fall for the big lie that it's cowardly to be against war. That's the simplest thing you could say about somebody who wants peace. It's easy to be a tough guy on the radio and on the airwaves. I'll ask you again, do you approve or disapprove of being dragged into war in Syria? Last week, Trump said, no, we're pulling out of Syria. Now all of a sudden he's into Syria. What happened? Russian warships just went out to sea. New satellite images came out obtained from ImageSat International show activity at the Russian Naval Air Base at Tartus, Syria. Russian warships are on the move. Is this what you want for ratings? You warmongers, you want more ratings, so you want war? The media wants war. Make no mistake about it. The bloodthirsty media wants war. This is very same people who live on ratings want war. Peace doesn't bring ratings, by the way. Peace is very bad for the media. Very bad for the media, peace. Because then you have to use your intelligence to talk about something other than politics. And most of them are vacuous. They have no minds, no background, no history, no science, no poetry in their blood. All they can do is talk about politics and war. So they want war. Make no mistake about it. If it sells, if it burns, it earns. If it bleeds, it leads. I said that for years. If it bleeds, it leads. If it burns, it earns. What could be better to sell television shows than images of burning buildings and screaming babies? But when I began the show 2 hours ago, I quoted John F. Kennedy, who, Clint, do you have that soundbite? Ask not what you can do for your country, but what you can do for your country. Not ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Do we still have that? I want the people to hear.
My fellow Americans,
geez, thanks for cutting me off.
ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
That was a speech which inspired me when I was a young man just starting out in my professional life. It made me think very carefully about what it was to be an American. And I wanted to do something good for my country. It made me walk around with a new sense of awareness and a new sense of pride. It motivated me on life's path. I wanted to be like John F. Kennedy. I wanted to be a young man like him with a beautiful family. I wanted to live in a safe, peaceful nation. I wanted blacks and whites to get together. I wanted the country to be a better place. And in many ways, if I look back on my own life, and I'm not going to turn it into something about me, whether it was collecting plants to find cures for mankind or writing books on health and nutrition, and then many years in radio and politics, it was always for the same end and the same reason, which was to make America and the world a better place. Whether it was me appealing to the president to stop the slaughter of elephants and lions and hippopotami, and I failed at that, because just like the warmongers who got control of him now, the crazed, insane hunters got control of him. And I was told in emails and texts from the White House itself, don't worry, he will stop the slaughter. Well, he didn't. You haven't heard me talk about that for a while, have you? Because I gave up. All I could do is do what I can do. I'm only a talk show host. I have only got my radio show, nothing else. I don't have any position of power. All I have is the audience. That's you. You have the power. You have the power to stop this war madness. If you cannot see the connection between a president who 1 week says we're pulling out of Syria, and the day after this warmonger neocon psycho is put in there, the walrus, that all of a sudden there's a convenient gas attack orchestrated like on, it's as though HBO created the whole show. Gas on Saturday, walrus on Monday, war on Wednesday. But the people are gullible. People are easily gulled. They'll go along with whatever you tell them. And there's nothing better than showing them poor babies foaming at the mouth. I hope to God there was no gas attack. But I also hope to God that the president will pause just for a moment and say, wait a minute. If I said I'm getting out last week, now I say I'm going to war this week, it doesn't make me look too good. I got to take a deep breath and I got to think about this. People are not stupid. They're going to remember these things. So wait, let me think about this for a minute. I want pure evidence in front of me that shows me that Assad did it, that Russia collaborated with Assad to do it. You know, it's funny. Now that I think about it, Trump's been screaming for a year, and I know he's right, saying there was no collusion with Russia to steal the election. But now he's rushing a judgment and saying Russia colluded with Assad to gas his own people. Where's the evidence? Trump's been saying there's no evidence that he colluded with Russia. Where's the evidence that Russia colluded with Assad to gas their own people? Where is the evidence, Mr. Trump? You know, I'm speaking to you, the audience, as though I'm in a room and I'm being given free rein to open my big mouth and say what I think to the president. Because it's the only thing he would listen to is somebody who has the guts to speak to him clearly and succinctly and say what he thinks. The rest are just yes men and yes women. 25-year-olds, 29-year-olds, 80-year-olds. Somebody has to stand up and say, wait a minute, you're saying there's no Russia collusion between you and Russia with the election, and we believe you. So now, but you're rushing the judgment that there was collusion between Russia and Assad? Where'd you get the proof? One picture from Reuters put out by the White Helmets? So I don't think anyone has seen that, but thank God I can still think on my feet. I had Pat Buchanan on the show in hour 1 and hour 2. I hope we can get that interview together and put it up for the people to listen to a short version on michaelsavage.com after the show is over. Pat worked for Nixon. He worked for Reagan. He's been inside the halls of Congress, inside the White House, not in the halls of Congress. He wasn't buried as a small bureaucrat somewhere in the Justice Department trying to ruin people's lives. He was actually a communications director for Ronald Reagan. And he knows that Reagan was a man of peace who thought very carefully before going to war. And he wanted evidence before he went to war. The same with Nixon. He said Nixon was declared a warmonger, but he actually wanted peace. Never forget it was Nixon who ended the war in Vietnam. Never forget that, no matter what the liberals want you to believe. So Buchanan was on here, and I asked him a couple of questions, like, what should Trump do? And he said something very telling. He said Trump should be a big enough man to admit he may have made a mistake with those tweets this morning. But alas, I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I don't think he's going to back down. I think he's going to double down. Sadly so. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
It's getting near dawn. When lights close the tired eye.
Okay, thank you very much. I've played it too many times. If you could keep your head when all those around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, then you'll be a man, my son. I kind of remember that line. Great poet. April 2nd, Donald Trump says he's going to bring Putin to the White House because he wants to smooth out relations. April 2nd, 9 days ago. Now he says U.S.-Russia relationship is worse than it's ever been, including the Cold War. And he asks Putin to stop the arms race while he's moving warships into the Middle East. What do you want me to do here? Sit here and say yay? Guess so. I guess that's what you want, huh? Go, Trump, go. Anyone against the war now is a coward and a white supremacist. Boltbot's hitting me hard on Twitter, I'll tell you that. Bolton must have 1,000 computers running somewhere that every time he sees anything negative, they call you coward, Russian spy. We're living in crazy times. These are times that try man's soul, especially those of us on the front lines in the media. This is when you, the listener, determine who you want to follow and who you want to believe. It's interesting to me that social media has a thing called followers. If you go on Twitter, for example, it's a very interesting, metric. Followers. Tweets, followers, likes, and all that stuff. Well, in radio, we have a thing called followers, too. It's called numbers of people in our audience. Does it mean you agree with everything that we say? Most of you probably don't. Many of you don't believe what we say. Some of you are following us on radio because you disagree with us. But at the end of the day, those of us on the front lines of the media, wherever we may be, have to answer to a higher power. And that higher power is reason, logic, what's best for America, not what's best for ratings. And I have to go to sleep at night with me. Me, myself, and I, as we used to say. We have to lay down at whatever that means. That's a crazy one altogether. Me, myself, and I. It sounds rather split. I have to go to sleep at night. I have to lay down, shut the lights, lower the shades, load the shotgun, hopefully before I shut the lights. And I have to lay there in bed and think about what I said during the day, about what I want to do, where my life is going, and all of that stuff. It's not just a radio show. It's a way of life for me after all these years. And it must be a way of life for some of you to listen to the show, and then you listen to others. Don't you have to come to some conclusions at the end of the day? And what do you want me to do? Just sit here and say, if I'm not for Trump with everything he does, then I'm not loyal to him? That's not who I am. That's not how I am. It's not the way I ever was. I'm not a party type. I'm not an apparatchik. I don't have blind loyalty. I can't have blind loyalty. The ones who are going to be calling for war, mark my words, the ones who are going to be most gung-ho for war are those who were never Trumpers and anti-Trumpers. You watch and you wait and see which way this goes. Those who either backed other candidates or hated Trump and put him down. Those of us who are true to our calling and to our mission in life will be those who say, wait, Mr. President, slow down. Don't be stampeded into this without thinking this through. But I'm asking you, the listeners, what do you think? KSFO Jill, 20 seconds or less, fire away. We're very short of time. Jill, fire away.
Hello?
Not there. Go ahead, fire, 20 seconds.
Dr. Savage, it's an honor to speak with you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I am not Rush Limbaugh. Don't tell me it's an honor to speak to me. I don't need the honor. I'm not like the others who need my boots licked. I can't take this anymore. I don't need you to say it's an honor to speak with me. Without you, I'd have no show.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
I worked my butt off to get Donald Trump into the White House. I did so because I thought, A, he could beat her, the battle axe. 2, because the battle axe represented the military-industrial complex and wanted war with Russia. He did not. He was clearly on record, both during the campaign and after he won, as being an isolationist, if you want to call it that. A nationalist is what I would call it, with no foreign wars. I wake up today and I read that he calls Assad a gas-killing animal without evidence. A gas-killing animal without evidence. And then he says, get ready, Russia, because they will be coming nice and new and smart. That's the President of the United States. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming nice and new and smart. So I tweeted this morning. Yes, the President got me to tweeting about a year ago. I said, if you can't beat him, join him. So I'll start tweeting. So I got into my tweet thing, my tweet mode, and I tweeted the following. Madness. I warned the world Bolton was a warmonger who got Bush into Iraq. Why would Assad and Russia gas when winning war? Mr. President, stop before it's too late. Within a few minutes, the Bolt bots, which are machine-driven responses, thousands of them sitting around America somewhere, started attacking me. And then I see an article that was shocking, more shocking than even the President's tweets. From Haaretz.com, one of their little writers, Alison Kaplan Summer, writes that anyone who is opposing the war is a white supremacist who's defending Russia and Assad. Suddenly, anyone who opposes the war with Russia is an anti-Semite or a white supremacist. I never thought I'd see this kind of rhetoric in the United States of America today, coming out of Israel and America itself. Now we're anti-Semites. Now we work for Russia because we don't want war with Russia. Well, I rest my case. You can say who you want I am, but I know who I am. I know who I work for. I work for only one boss, and that's somebody upstairs who none of us have met. I have to answer to him at the end of every day as I lay my head on a pillow. And I'm going to tell you something. I sleep very well at night. I'm not up at 4:30 in the morning tweeting after eating Twinkies. I sleep through the night because I give it my all during the day. And I'm going to give it my all because I don't want war with Russia. Now, if I knew that Assad and or Russia definitively gassed their own people, I would not be saying these things. But I am a cautious man by nature, and I want to know what the rush is. The Russians are saying the Americans want to launch Tomahawks in order to cover up the evidence of who actually gassed the people. How do you like that? Did you hear what I just said? That the Russians are saying the Americans want to launch Tomahawks to destroy the crime scene. Now, if you're a cop, do you understand what I'm saying to you on a world stage? I hope you can understand this. I pray to God we're not on the brink of a war, but it looks as though the war machine has gotten control of the Trump administration. The neocons installed the warmonger Bolton, who is not a conservative by any means. He is a war machine, not a peace machine. Look at the headlines we are seeing. Russian TV, world stands millimeters from a great war. Citizens told to prepare to evacuate 2 bomb shelters and what to take into the bomb shelters. Trump says U.S.-Russia relationship worse than it's ever been, even in the Cold War. Report says U.S. set to target 70 different sites in Syria, including ones in which Russian troops are stationed. Syrian chemical attack may be a false flag to start a world war. We don't know who gassed those 40 or 50 people. In fact, it came out the Secretary of Defense, Mattis, admitted that he's investigating it. He doesn't know. But before he's completed his investigation, the war machine, the war party, is gearing up to destroy anything they can kill in their sights. I say this. A true conservative stands for peace, not war. A neocon who is truly a liberal, faking it as a conservative, puts war before peace. Hundreds of years ago, Thomas Hobbes said the very first law of nature is to seek peace. That is the essence of true conservatism. And I'm not just talking about the absence of military war on the battlefield. I am talking about peace between individuals and groups within society. It's truly the opposite of progressivism, which seeks nothing but conflict. They promote conflict between people of different racial groups, different sexual orientations, and different income levels. They promote conflict between men and women. One of the reasons I worked so hard to get Trump elected is I thought he would be a man of peace. I said, put everything else aside. The most important thing in this world is not the economy, it's peace. Domestic peace, international peace, peace between individuals and peace between nations is far more important than gross domestic product or low interest rates. I have declared to you before, and I will declare to you again today, that I am an anti-war conservative. I know many of you don't understand what those words mean because you think liberals are anti-war, but they're not. As you have seen in the streets of America and on the television sets, liberals are the violent fascists of our time. I thought all these left-wing organizations represented the true danger, not this administration. Candidate Trump was on my show 1 month before the election and said on these airwaves that he'd meet with Putin if he could, even before he was inaugurated. That's how badly Trump wanted to tamp down war talk. The crazy feminist sorority that surrounded Obama was dying for a war with Russia. I led Trump to that commitment with a series of questions I asked him during my show. I've been writing about the demonization of Putin and Russia for years in my books. Let's be clear about it. Putin is no angel, and Russia's interests don't always coincide with ours. But that does not mean we must be enemies or give the forces of darkness in Washington another war to get rich on while the rest of us suffer and our soldiers die for nothing. And that's why I wanted a commitment from Trump to talk to Putin at the earliest possible opportunity. Well, I got it. When I wrote Trump's War, many of you who didn't read the book thought I meant Trump should go to war. But there's a chapter in Trump's War that those of you who bought the book can turn to on page 137, which is entitled Trump's War Against the War Machine. And my savage solutions, clearly laid out, are simple, 1, stand firm on peace with Russia. 2, combat the war propaganda with the bully pulpit. 3, destroy ISIS and then leave the Middle East. 4, bring our troops home from unnecessary deployments. When John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, I was a young man. It was the first year of my teaching in a junior high school. I remember what happened the day that John F. Kennedy died. The country's heart was broken. I lived through it. People on all sides of the aisle were shattered. He was young, idealistic, ambitious, but he was a leader, a great leader. He inspired me. I didn't even know what his party was. I had no idea. Every time that man spoke, I was stirred by John F. Kennedy to do better for myself and my nation. I knew what it was to be a young man and an American who was idealistic. When Kennedy died, it seems as though a part of America died forever. I don't think we've had a leader since John F. Kennedy like him. If John F. Kennedy were alive today, he'd run as probably a Republican. He could never get elected in the left-wing progressive circles of the Democrat Party of today. John F. Kennedy was a conservative in the Democrat Party, a war hero, a leader. Would Kennedy now send a tweet in the early morning of the hour saying, I've got shiny new missiles, look out, we're going to blow you up? And I wake up and I see this madness, total insanity. I can't believe what I'm looking at. Is the world about to go to war? Being dragged into war in Syria based upon no evidence? Theresa May of England even said this morning, wait, slow down. She said, we don't have firm evidence that the Syrians did this. The Russians are asking for an investigation. Who did this? Who gassed these 40 people? It's deja vu. It happened exactly a year ago while the president of China was sitting to dinner with Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. Gas attack. Trump was triggered into launching missiles. Shocked the world. No reason for it. And guess what came out today on that prior gas attack? That you were convinced Assad did. You idiots, you morons, you knee-jerk conservative idiots. Bomb him, you said. Bomb him, you said. All you armchair generals. All you fake conservatives in the media. Bomb him. Today, we learned Mattis admitted that there was no evidence Assad used poison gas on his people. This has been lost in the hyperbole of our times. It flies in the face of the White House NSC memorandum, which was rapidly produced and declassified to justify an American Tomahawk missile strike against the Shayrat air base in Syria. Mattis went on to say he doesn't know who did it. Mattis, the military boss, said on record that we have no evidence to support the conclusion that Assad gassed his own people. Mattis impugned the interventionists who pushed the Assad is guilty narrative without sufficient supporting evidence. There is a dissonance then, there's a dissonance now, and I knew this was coming the minute they picked the walrus. The walrus signaled he was going to take us to war. Again, going back to this movie Chappaquiddick, even when Ted Kennedy got in trouble by lying about killing that girl, he was surrounded by intelligent men who considered all the possible actions to cover up that crime. I'm not saying they should have. Listen to what I'm saying. Measured, thoughtful people who knew what was going on. In the White House at that time, there were measured, thoughtful people who considered all angles before making statements. Certainly before going to war. It's the most serious thing a president can do, is go to war. So when Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, I took it very seriously. My whole life was motivated by that speech in some ways, now that I think about it. My life every day on the radio is motivated by that speech in some ways, now that I think about it. And my show today is dedicated only to that thought of what I, Michael Savage, can do for my country. And the best thing I can do for my country is to convince you that Trump is 100% wrong if he strikes against Syria. And number two, he's being misled by some of the most dangerous, evil warmongers on the planet, who, if they should lead this country to war again, 1 week after Trump said we're getting out of there, let them take care of themselves 1 week ago. 1 week ago, he tweeted we're getting out of there. We're gone. A week later, the Walrus is installed by some hedge fund manipulators who will profit greatly through war, holding stock, no doubt, in Raytheon and other great companies who make the Tomahawk missile. You think there's no money involved in these decisions? Then you are stupid. It's always about money.
I'll be right back. Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
In concluding today's program, I absolutely believe the United States needs to provide adequate evidence that Assad committed a war crime before going to war. We cannot just become lawbreakers and assault another nation simply because somebody said that they did it. Moreover, I will repeat something that I said earlier today that I think is significant for you to remember, if you're still here and listening and not falling asleep. We all know that Trump has been fighting very hard to disprove the Russia collusion theory because we know it's false. Mueller is a liar, a gangster, a mook, a bum, whatever. So Trump said there is no collusion. We all believe Trump there was no collusion. And yet, without any evidence whatsoever, Trump wants us to believe there is collusion between Assad and Russia to gas their own people. So you understand what I'm saying to you here? Where is the evidence that there's total collusion between Russia and Assad to gas their own people? Where's the evidence? From a man who's saying there is no collusion between him and Russia, who we believe, and a year now has been spent trying to prove it with no proof. We haven't even had a day to investigate who gassed these kids or these people in Syria. Not a day. Nothing. No outside agency. Given the fact that we now know that a year ago when Trump unfortunately launched without thinking against Syria before, which he did once before, which I opposed, by the way, and when I met Trump afterwards, he said to me, I hear you've been pretty tough on me on the radio, with a smile. But he waved me inside the velvet rope and we talked. I doubt very much I'll be waved inside any velvet rope from now on. Because this is the last straw for me. It's very different to have a political enemy who you ridicule on a daily basis and to launch a war based upon no evidence whatsoever, a war that can lead to the deaths of thousands, if not many thousands. War is the most serious step a president can take. A president has one primary job, which is to protect the people of his country. That's the one thing a president's supposed to do, is protect the people of his country, domestically and internationally. How does it serve the American people to act so brusquely based on no evidence whatsoever? I saw this coming. It was signaled from a mile away. The minute I saw that the hedge funds had installed Bolton, I said it's all over. The deep state has won. The swamp has swallowed them up. Remember, Bolton is from the swamp. It's like a repeat of history here. Bolton is the one who lied to George Bush about weapons of mass destruction to get Bush to invade Iraq. It's the same playbook. Do you understand that? It's the same exact playbook. I have made my case. I can do no more. I've tried to do what I've been doing since I'm a young man, to make the world a safer, better place, whether it's through health books or through a radio show. I implore you, the American people, to do everything you can to email the White House and say, President Trump, please stop before it's too late. Thank you for listening, and God bless America.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.